Welcome into the Sports Buffoons Podcast.
Come on in, everybody, to another episode of In the Hoop, and I'm on the road today. Finished up a new little coaching / refereeing gig today for me. So stayed busy, active, had a fun time. So Jason, of course, JG joins me of the Sports Buffoons. Scott Cove is missing, but we'll get him on again. I ain't worried about him. JG, what's up?
Not much, man. I see you're back in the Range Rover. That looks like a pretty nice ride.
That's right. The Range Rover for sure, man. Bumping in style. Oh, man. So, conference finals have started since our last show. Lots and lots of drama, I feel like, within these conference finals. Which series you want to start with, Jason?
Oh, well, we got to start with your favorite player in the history of sports, Jimmy Butler.
Freaking buckets.
I was talking to a lot of people before that game 2 started, and I said, you know what? The Celtics could be in shambles here. And nobody believed me. Nobody believed when I said, you might want to consider putting a little bit of money on Miami. Nobody believed me because there's no way possible that Miami could get both games on the road, and that's exactly what happened. So I did predict that this would happen, and first I just want to get your thoughts, Tanner, on your favorite player in the history of sports, Jimmy Buckets.
Look, nothing surprising me with this guy. He's taking this team that's beat up with no Tyler Hero, a Bam Adebayo that hasn't done anything really, or it hasn't been too effective. But he's using all these role players, all these undrafted free agents, and making them look like they're literally finals style of team. And that blows my mind there with this team. The way Jimmy just turns it on and improves his team around him.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. I just want to make a comparison here because when I watch Jimmy Butler play, I guess now I need to refer to him as Jimmy freaking Butler, which was an amazing call by Kevin Harland when that game was going on. Jimmy freaking Butler, I'm going to proclaim him right now as the biggest killer in the NBA since the late, great Kobe Bryant. You know, we all used to talk about that killer mentality that Michael Jordan had, that Kobe Bryant had. You know, there are a lot of killers in the NBA, but they're role players. They're guys like Patrick Beverley, who, you know, I love Patrick Beverley. He's an absolute killer, but he's a role player. It's very rare to see a killer in the league that's an actual superstar. And that's what Jimmy Butler is. He does not care about the regular season. You know, he couldn't care less about the regular season, but you put him in the playoffs, and that's when he turns into an absolute killer as a superstar. And so for me, biggest killer in the NBA since the late great Kobe Bryant. And I'm riding with this guy, man. I was riding with him after game 1. Still can't believe that they dropped their very first play-in game this year. So this is unheard of. You want to talk about unprecedented in terms of making it to the finals, potentially as an 8 seed, or winning the finals as an 8 seed. If you think that's unprecedented, try getting your ass kicked in the very first game of the play-in tournament and still going down that road, potentially making it to the finals. It's just unheard of. And so all props here to the Miami Heat and Eric Spoelstra, which is the next thing I want to get into. When you look at the coaching, you look at the coaching comparison here. It's Joe Mazzulla. He's just getting out-coached by Eric Spoelstra. And that's not a big surprise for me. I told you that he was going to get out-coached. I think I talked a little bit about on our last show on Wednesday. I like to threaten coaches. If they don't get the job done, I like to threaten coaches and fire them on this show. And I actually threatened Mike Malone on the last show, and that actually helped him out, I think, because he's got the job done. So far, that series is far from over, but so far, Mike Malone is getting the job done in Denver. But I said, if Mike Malone, if they can't win this series and make to the finals, I'm going to fire him. Well, guess what? The Miami-Boston series, it's over, guys. This is a wrap. Okay, and I want to hear about your comments because I'm sure there's a lot of Boston fans out there, maybe some neutral fans actually disagree with me, but send me your comments because I am telling you, I promise you right now, barring a catastrophic injury, this series is over, and after it's over, Joe Mazzulla is fired, okay? I'm going to fire him right now. He is done. He is done. You guys will not hear of Joe Mazzulla ever again as a Celtics coach. Now, he might get an opportunity somewhere else, but I'm firing him right now. He's fired after this series is over because they have no shot. They have no shot at coming back. This series is going to be over in 6 games max. Okay, that's the maximum. I don't think the Celtics are going to get swept here, which is why I'm going to give the Celtics the benefit of the doubt here. But when you're a guy like Jason Tatum, now the thing in game 1 was that the dude didn't even touch the fucking ball in the fourth quarter, which I'm gonna put that on the coach for sure. But when I look at game 2, yeah, he touched the ball in the fourth quarter, but he went 0 of 3. And the reason why he went 0 of 3 is because Miami installed that zone defense, which the Celtics they do not have an answer for that zone defense in the fourth quarter that Spoelstra put out there. And so, this series is over. The role players, if they didn't show up in Boston, the role players, they were just okay. But if they couldn't get a game at home, then they're not going to do shit in Miami, okay? So as this series shifts back to Miami, guess what? The Boston role players aren't going to do shit. However, the Miami Heat role players are going to get better. They are going to give you more because that's what role players do when they play at home. And I'm telling you right now, the role players aren't going to do shit. The other reason, it's not just because they're going on the road, but they are scared shitless of Jimmy Butler, okay? And I want to make that clear. They are scared shitless. Jason Tatum, those guys are the whole team, man. The coach is scared shitless of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler invokes fear right now in this stage of the playoffs. And then on top of all that, you've got Grant Williams, who was talking shit, talking trash, went forehead to forehead with Jimmy Butler in that last game. And Jimmy Butler loved it, man. That's what actually fired him up. When Grant Williams made that shot and started talking shit to Jimmy Butler, Boston had a 96-87 lead in the fourth quarter. They had a 9-point lead when that happened. And guess what? Grant Williams decided, I'm going to start talking shit. And Jimmy Butler, dude, he fucking thrives on that shit, man. He loved it. And he was quoted as saying, you know what? I'm probably not the best person to talk to in that situation. But Grant Williams was stupid enough to do it anyway. And that's what reminded me of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, back in the 80s and 90s, was the last guy on the court that you would ever want to talk trash to. That's exactly what's happening with Jimmy Butler right now. And if these guys continue to talk trash, it's going to be a disaster. If they keep their mouth shut, they might be able to extend the series a little bit. But if they keep talking trash, it will be a sweep. or a gentleman's sweep at best, because the Celtics have already proven that home court doesn't mean shit right now in this series. So I could even see a scenario where Boston gets lucky, wins one game, and then the series still gets closed out in Boston in 5 games. I could see that scenario playing out because these guys keep talking shit. This series can be over in 4 or 5. So want to know you guys' thoughts. Send out your comments. Tanner, what do you think this is? Is this a sweep or is it a 5 or 6 game series? Because it sure as fuck is not a 7-game series.
No, I want to say it's at least a 5-gamer, but it might be a sweep in this one. Just, too lousy of the offense in the fourth quarter for the Celtics. By the way, you talked about Grant Williams. He might be the next Dylan Brooks deal where he's going to be on the free agent list with Dylan Brooks because he's not Jason Tatum. He's not Jaylen Brown. So, he's going to be sitting on the if they lose the series, he's gone because you're not keeping a guy like that who kicks it off when you have the lead. But, I'd have to go probably going to be a sweep in the end here.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you on Grant Williams. I don't know that he I don't think he poked the bear as much as Dylan Brooks did. Yeah, I mean, I see your perspective, and the reason why I can buy into that is because the Celtics are going to blow this thing up anyway, because I told you guys before this series even started, Jaylen Brown is gone, man. He does not want to be there. This Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown combination, this thing has run its course. And unless they can get lucky and figure out a way to make it back to the finals, they're going to blow this thing up. The coach, obviously, I just fired him, so he's fired. And Jaylen Brown is gone because I told you guys, he's not going to stick around for this shit. I really don't believe he wants to be there. And the Celtics just need to blow the whole thing up because they sort of topped out. They maximized their potential last year, making it to the finals under head coach Ime Udoka, who, in my opinion, should have never been fired in the first place. The Celtics organization just kind of got scared into that whole thing. I don't know if they got pressured to fire him or what happened, but that was ridiculous. It was unnecessary. They should have kept him. Ime Udoka, coming out of that Spurs, Greg Popovich coaching tree, obviously was the guy that could, honestly, he could have taken him to the promised land had they kept him around one more year. But Joe Mazzulla is not the guy. Should have kept Udoka. That's neither here nor there. And at this point, they are going to blow it up because they have no other choice, man. They have no other choice but to start from scratch. You're going to keep Jason Tatum and always build around him. But for me, Jaylen Brown's gone. So do you have any more thoughts on that, Tanner, or do you want to move on to the next series?
Just real quick here, Shaq and Bart and Charles there, they had a good point after game 1 where they didn't put it on the coach. They put it on Jason Tatum of not requesting the ball, not demanding the ball. Because that's who you're wanting to take that in the fourth quarter. But you saw that, though. They pointed out, he never tried to, get the ball, dribble it up. Didn't try to get it while it was around. Just kept passing by him. And, I think that kind of does fall on him on a personal deal. And, it lacks his toughness. It lacks his leadership on the team. And I think that's going to affect these guys that made moves in the offseason. Like I told you guys, made moves and now are not going to capitalize on it because they don't have the right leadership.
And I agree with that. And I'm not a guy that, while we like to fire a lot of people on this show, I'm not the guy that wants to put all the blame on the head coach. I don't believe in that whatsoever. The players always have to take some of the blame. And I totally agree with that. I mean, at some point the players have to do their jobs. But for me in this particular series, I put more blame on Joe Mazzulla than I would traditionally put on a coach. And here's the reason why. He's already proven that he is not willing to call a timeout to stop the bleeding. And to me, in all of my years of watching the NBA, whether it's an elite head coach or whether it's a mediocre head coach, all these guys, it's kind of an unwritten rule that if your team is bleeding, the only way to stop the bleeding, I've seen Steve Kerr, he does this a lot. You must call a timeout to stop the bleeding. And Joe Mazzulla has already proven that in both of these games that he's not willing to do that. And whether you want to call that unorthodox or whatever you want to call it, as they lose this series, I'm just going to call it stupidity. And that's what the public is going to call it, is just sheer stupidity, because, if you want to try to be innovative and do something different, that's fine, but it better damn well work if you're going to do something like that. And right now it's not working. And that's the reason why he's going to get fired. At least if he would have started to call timeouts to try to stop the bleeding, at least he's doing it in an orthodox way. And I believe that definitely changes momentum. If you've got another team like the Miami Heat that are on a roll and you call a timeout, that's the best way. That's the only way to stop the bleeding. And I think that could have definitely changed the outcome of one, maybe both of this game. I can make the case that Boston would be ahead 2-0 right now. I can make that case if he would have called timeouts just to stop the bleeding, but he's not willing to do that. He's stubborn, and that's why he's going to get fired.
That's probably the case, and I don't know. It's just going to be interesting there. All right, let's move on. We'll talk about this Lakers Nuggets series. A very interesting one too, because it's not like these Nuggets are blowing them away. The Joker's just doing Joker things, even when he doesn't get a bunch of points. So, what's your thoughts here on this Lakers Nuggets?
Yeah, I'm very impressed by what Jamal Murray was able to do. A lot of people, if you didn't watch the game or watch the interviews, you didn't know that Jamal Murray actually had a flu game. So he had the flu and an ear infection. He said it was very painful. And I actually think that's probably something that it fuels a lot of players, a lot of superstar players. But yeah, I guess he was in pain with the ear infection and the flu, was not feeling 100%. But he's been the guy that has decided these first two games. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal for Denver, especially when you're going up against a team led by second greatest player in the history of the game, LeBron James. You must defend home court. I know in a lot of other series it wouldn't matter. You're going up against LeBron, dude. You got to take care of home court, and that's exactly what they did. So we've got game 3 tonight at 7:30 p.m. ABC. The Lakers are -5.5. Very impressed what Rui Hachimura was able to do. So I'll give Rob Pelinka credit for bringing him in at the trade deadline. So we always talk about how role players don't really do shit on the road, but Rui Hachimura showed up offensively and defensively in both games. He had 17 points in game 1, 21 points in game 2. So I do expect Rui Hachimura and also Austin Reeves to be a factor in games 3 and 4, because they're going back to their home court. Austin Reeves is another guy, gave you 23 in game 1, 22 in game 2. And that's kind of the silver lining if you're a Lakers fan, even though they lost both of those first two games. Yeah, that's the silver lining, is that you've got the consistency of these two role players, Austin Reeves and Hachimura. Now, D'Angelo Russell, Dennis Schroeder, those guys didn't do shit, okay, in games 1 and 2. But I do believe that one of those guys, or maybe both, are actually going to show up in these home games. So you're going to be able to get more from these guys. Lakers for sure are going to win game 3. There's just no way. You can't be a LeBron James led team, even at this stage of his career. LeBron James in year 20, you can't be a teammate of his and just go ahead and let him down in a game 3. So the Lakers are going to win this game. Obviously, no guarantees, but I am going to hit this game hard. Even though it's Lakers minus 260 in the money line, I'm not going to bet them to cover the 5.5. But I do believe the Lakers will win. So I'm going to hit that hard on the money line. Not going to go all in, but I do believe the Lakers will win. Anthony Davis only gave you 18 and 14 in game 2. So I do expect Anthony Davis also to give you a little bit more in game 3. For LeBron James, a lot of people are sort of giving him a lot of shit for jacking up threes at the end of games. And, I've heard people say things like, LeBron is turning into Le Brick again, kind of like we used to talk about Russell Westbrook turning into Russell Westbrick, James Harden turning into James Larden, giving LeBron a hard time for jacking up threes. And I understand that, but I think for whatever reason, the altitude has a lot to do with that. I think it might have been, was it game 1 or game 2 where he actually missed a dunk, which is not something that we're accustomed. Yeah, game 2. So that's not something we're accustomed to seeing LeBron James do. And I just think that it's, a lot of people like to say it's his age. I just think it's a combination of that and the altitude. So that altitude in Denver affects things a lot more than people want to admit. And so I think you're going to see a different LeBron James as they go back to their home court. And I think like I said, you'll see a little bit more from Dennis Schroeder and or D'Angelo Russell, but they will win game 3 if for no other reason, because they have to win game 3. I mean, do you have any idea how pissed off LeBron's going to be if his team lets him down? They must win game 3. I don't care if this is a 5-game series. I don't care if Denver closes this shit out in 5. Just for pride, you've got to win game 3, because if you go down 3-0, then everything else is useless, man. Don't even fucking try. Don't even try after that. So Lakers are going to win. This is going to be a more interesting series than the Celtics Miami Heat series by far. And I think the Lakers can at least, push this to a game 6, Tanner.
Yeah, I think they're in the games. It's not like, it's a big blowout every time. They're in the games, but that guy down low for the Nuggets, he, 2-time MVP, could have been 3 if Embiid would have missed a few more games, and it was he's a different, he just does it different. He doesn't look like the part. He doesn't do the part, but he makes these numbers created out of nowhere. 24, 14, 17, it's triple doubles on stupid every game, right? So that guy down low, he knows where to find his shooters. He knows who to go and where to go, and he just knows how to beat the guys that's covering him, aka AD, aka DeAndre Ayton. He knew how to beat Ayton, obviously, because we know why elsewhere. But Joker, if Joker's on, he doesn't have to be on. As long as he has 15 plus boards and 10 plus assists, it doesn't matter what that point total says, because you already know that positive impact of his points responsible is always plus. It's not in the minuses, it's plus. And look, man, AD did better last game, but there's still a tall task to ask to get this job, get it done and get it executed. So, man, you said 6 or 5?
I'm saying if they're lucky, the Lakers can push this to 6.
I think it's 5 at best.
Yeah, and I personally think they should just take Anthony Davis off of Jokic. Okay, because they need more on the offensive side of the ball from AD than they do defensively. I know Anthony Davis, he's always going to get you a bunch of rebounds, and that's fine, but they need to take him off of Jokic altogether and make somebody else guard him, because Jokic is going to get his points. He's going to get his assists. He's going to get whatever he wants no matter what. And so I just think that it's kind of a waste to try to use Anthony Davis to guard him when what you really need from AD is what you got from him in game one. You need the 35, the 40-point games from Anthony Davis. Don't just let him get gassed on the defensive side of the floor by trying to guard Nikola Jokic, because I've always liked the philosophy of just kind of letting that one guy that you know is going to get his points no matter what, just let him get it, man. If you're going to try to shut somebody down, shut down Jamal Murray. But I think they just need to let Nikola Jokic do his thing. You know, you can throw Jared Vanderbilt on him at times, but Anthony Davis just needs to just take a few breathers there on the defensive side of the floor, because they need him to put up points, man, at this point in the series. I mean, the Lakers are already an elite. Since the All-Star break, they're the best defensive team in the league. So I don't really feel the need to just try to gas Anthony Davis on that side of the floor when he's going to be useless. I mean, you can't go into game 3 or the rest of the series and only get 18 points per game from Anthony Davis, because you're going to lose anyway if you do that. And so I want to get more from AD on the offensive side of the floor. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, you're going 5. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because it's LeBron. But I could see Denver closing this thing out on the road in 6 games.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I like that take about AD, where they might have to change the game plan. Obviously, stopping Joker's tools is probably more important than stopping Joker himself. And if you have AD scoring what he did game 1, and let's just say you got Joker's, let's say Jamal Murray scores a few points less, Bruce Brown, you're able to quit or knock some of these guys out of Joker's arsenal, then you stand a pretty good chance because you're up there and you're close to it anyway. So, yeah, I still think 5, just the way the Nuggets are playing. I think the Lakers are going to start. I think it's starting to die out a little bit.
Yeah, I just think that having a defensive minded coach like Darvin Ham, what I just said is probably not going to happen. Because he wants everybody to be all in defensively, and so Anthony Davis is probably going to have to, keep doing it on both ends of the floor, and he's going to probably run out of gas. And I just think that's their mindset, and that's fine. But they're just not going to get enough offensively, unless, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can get enough from guys like D'Angelo Russell and Dennis Schroeder. Maybe they can give you enough now that they're back on their home court to where you don't need to get more than 20 points from Anthony Davis. And maybe you can try to just make him do more on the defensive side of the floor. But I mean, if something let's just say hypothetically that the Lakers tie this thing up at 2-2, when you go back to Denver, then I think you just need to not make AD do as much defensively, because that altitude is going to get to him, and he's going to need a break, man. But like I said, if you get lucky and you're the Lakers and you're able to tie this thing up because you're role players, that's great. But we'll just have to see how it goes. I think they certainly have to tie it up 2-2. Otherwise, this thing's going to be over. But I personally, I'm ready for an NBA Finals that has Miami versus Denver. And I know it's kind of the opposite of what everybody else wants. Everybody in the world, dude, they want the Lakers versus the Celtics, because what better thing could you ever have in the NBA than to have Lakers Celtics in the finals? And I understand that, but from a basketball perspective, I want the 2 best teams. And when you watch these teams play, I understand, Lakers Celtics will always get the best ratings. But from a basketball perspective, I want Miami versus Denver, which is likely what we're going to get here. And you're going to see some great basketball. The
That's
other
what
thing,
Miami's doing.
yeah, I mean, the only other thing I'll say with the Celtics is like they need to reduce turnovers and they need better ball movement, man. That's the one way that they can try to beat that zone defense by Spoelstra in the fourth quarter is just forget about, one-on-one isolation, forget about pick and roll. When you're going up against that zone in the fourth quarter, you just need better ball movement, man. They just got to move the ball a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see how the series wraps up before next weekend or by next weekend. So it'll be kind of fun to see where we're at coming in Memorial Weekend. So really great basketball still away. A lot of drama with it too on both sides of the series. Really excited for it. So make sure you guys tune in there. Real quick here before we get out of here, I just want to say make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Botkins 1 year anniversary. The guy's been around for 1 year. He's doing a little special there. We got a special announcement there for the Let's Talk Sports Network on that show. So make sure you guys tune in for that. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome to see what he has on. So, but JG, you ready to call it?
Yeah, we'll see you guys on Wednesday.
We'll catch you guys Wednesday night. See you guys.